Most people think Shedeur Sanders copying Deshaun Watson's off-season regimen is just another headline-chasing media stunt or a young quarterback flexing for the cameras. They are dead wrong. What you are watching isn't off-the-field theater. It is a calculated, cold-blooded takeover strategy executed in broad daylight. Right now, behind closed doors, Shedeur isn't just working out alongside Watson. He is systematically harvesting Watson's exact pre-snap reading protocols, micro footwork, and live playbook installations in real time. If you think this is about casual mentorship, ask yourself why a projected star would intentionally subject himself to the brutal micro habits and cadence work of a veteran starter before he ever puts on an NFL helmet. This isn't preparation. This is blueprinting a zero-friction NFL takeover. And the tactical reality behind why he's doing it right now changes everything you thought you knew about his transition to the league. Strip away the social media clips, the noise of sports talk radio, and the endless culture debates surrounding the Sanders name, because when you cut through the spectacle, the tape reveals something far more cold and methodical. Football at the absolute highest level is rarely won on Saturday or Sunday afternoons. It is stolen in the dark during February, March, and April. What Shedeur Sanders is executing right now alongside Deshaun Watson is not a joint branding session or a casual passing camp. It is a deliberate, tactical operation designed to bypass the traditional, painful developmental curve that breaks the vast majority of rookie quarterbacks the second they step into a professional huddle. To understand the genius of this move, you have to look at the sheer mechanics of how an NFL offseason calendar functions. The average rookie enters the league in May, drowning in an avalanche of terminology, foreign protection calls, and defensive fronts they have never seen on a college chalkboard. They spend their first year reacting rather than anticipating, constantly playing catch-up while the game moves at hyperspeed around them. Shedeur is completely subverting that system. By literally mirroring Watson's exact daily timetable, from the early morning chalk sessions to the specific structure of their throwing scripts, Shedeur is taking the master key to a pro-style system before the door has even been locked behind him. Look closely at the physical execution on the field. When Watson steps up to take a rep, Shedeur isn't standing 20 yards back with his hands on his hips, waiting for his turn to throw a go route. He is standing directly behind the drop, taking phantom snaps, synchronizing his eyes with Watson's reads, and pacing his footwork to match the precise timing of the route concept. If Watson is working on a three-step gun drop designed to beat a zone blitz, Shedeur is mirroring the exact heel-to-toe rhythm, the same body weight transfer, and the same shoulder angle at the top of the drop. He is training his nervous system to process NFL spatial relationships before he ever takes a formal rep in a practice environment. This level of intentionality transforms basic physical training into a real-time simulation of professional playbook installation. When a starter works out in the off-season, they aren't just throwing footballs to stay in shape. They are running specific concepts tailored to overcome NFL defensive coverages. They are replaying the specific third and long looks, the red zone tight window throws, and the subtle check-down progressions that define Sunday football. By embedding himself in that exact ecosystem, Shedeur isn't just watching film. He is absorbing the operational language of an elite quarterback room. Every single dropback is paired with a pre-snap reading protocol. Before the ball is ever snapped in these session drills, Shedeur is forced to map the field through the eyes of a multi-year NFL starter. He is learning to identify safety rotations, middle-of-the-field disguises, and line-of-scrimmage pressure cues in the exact microseconds that Watson does. He is learning when to accelerate his footwork to beat an edge rusher, and when to hold his ground in the pocket to let an intermediate route clear the linebacker's drop. This is about eliminating the friction of transition. The biggest jump from college to the pros isn't physical arm strength or foot speed. It is the mental load of processing complex schematic information while executing precise mechanical movements under physical duress. By forcing his mind and body to operate on the exact timeline of a proven veteran, Shedeur is effectively neutralizing the steep learning curve that usually destroys young talent. He isn't waiting for a coaching staff to teach him how to be a professional. He is taking the blueprints directly from the source, building an unshakable mechanical foundation and positioning himself to operate with maximum efficiency the second he steps onto an NFL field. The into the film room and onto the dry erase board, where the subtle, invisible details of elite offensive architecture dictate who survives at the professional level. To truly grasp why Shedeur Sanders' daily synchronization with Deshaun Watson is so critical, you have to look past the surface-level athleticism and dissect the schematic machinery of modern pro-style systems. Whether analyzing the precise boot action and multi-tier passing game of a Kevin Stefanski offense, or the pre-snap motion and intermediate option trees popularized by schemes like Todd Monken's, the demands placed on a quarterback's brain and body are vastly different from anything executed on a Saturday afternoon in Boulder, Colorado. At the college level, Shedeur operated inside a system built around spread spacing, air raid tendencies, and clear, decisive isolation reads. In that environment, the field is often stretched wide to create massive operational lanes, giving a quarterback clear windows to distribute the ball based on leverage and individual matchups. But in the NFL, those wide lanes evaporate into razor-thin corridors. Modern professional offenses demand that a quarterback seamlessly integrate under-center footwork with shotgun spread principles, master play-action fakes where their back is turned entirely to the secondary for a full second, and make lightning-fast full-field progressions across 3 distinct passing zones in under 2.5 seconds. This is where the technical adaptation becomes paramount. During his collegiate career, Shedeur was renowned for his extraordinary toughness, his willingness to stand in the eye of the storm, and his uncanny ability to make off-script throws under heavy pressure. However, his style also featured a heavy reliance on deep pocket navigation, holding the football, hitching upward to buy time, and trusting his instincts to locate an opening. In a modern West Coast or hybrid pro scheme, that style can be a double-edged sword. If you hold the ball a fraction of a second too long, waiting for a route to clear, you don't just take a sack. You completely ruin the rhythm and timing of an entire sequence. By standing shoulder to shoulder with Watson during film breakdown and dynamic drill work, Shedeur is dissecting the precise mechanics required to operate inside a tight, structured pocket. Look at the sight lines required in a heavy play-action system. When a quarterback takes a deep 5-step drop from under center, fake hands to the running back, and snaps his head around, he cannot afford to scan the entire defense from scratch. His eyes must instantly locate the conflict defender, usually an inside linebacker or safety, and immediately calibrate his arm slot based on how that defender reacts to the run fake. Watson has spent years navigating these exact sightline challenges at the highest level. He understands how to use subtle shoulder tilts, subtle eye manipulation, and micro hitches to hold a middle linebacker just long enough for a deep over route to cross behind his head. Shedeur isn't just watching these reps on a screen. He is breaking down the exact body mechanics that make them work. He is learning how to compress his footwork inside a collapsing pocket, keeping his base wide and his front shoulder closed so that he can launch a ball down the boundary even when a defensive lineman is closing in on his back hip. Furthermore, This alignment allows Shedeur to master the complex verbiage and formation shifts that define professional play calling. In college, plays are often communicated through sideline boards or simplified single-word calls that compress an entire formation, protection, and route tree into a single phrase. In an NFL huddle, the quarterback is required to spit out 20-word play calls that dictate shifting personnel, protection slides, receiver motions, and hot route adjustments based on the defensive front. When Shedeur mirrors Watson's daily script, he is constantly speaking that complex dialect aloud, running through the pre-snap checklist until it becomes second nature. He is training his brain to process protection checks at the line of scrimmage, identifying the Mike linebacker, setting the edge blockers, and signaling hot routes, all while the play clock ticks down from 15 seconds. It is a total overhaul of technical habits, transforming raw instinct and arm talent into a refined, highly efficient tactical weapon built specifically for the ruthless realities of professional football. The true magic of mirroring a veteran starter doesn't happen during open field drills or under the bright lights of a stadium practice. It unfolds in the quiet, climate-controlled silence of the film room at 6 o'clock in the morning. When the general public imagines quarterback development, they picture long throws, crisp routes, and physical conditioning. But inside an elite NFL facility, the film room is where games are won and lost, long before a helmet is ever buckled. By embedding himself next to Deshaun Watson during these private, unscripted film sessions, Shedeur Sanders is gaining access to an invisible library of professional intuition that no rookie minicamp or playbook manual could ever teach him. Sitting shoulder to shoulder in front of high-definition coaches' film, every single rep becomes a live-action case study. When Watson cues up a practice rep from the previous afternoon, Shedeur isn't just watching the ball fly toward the receiver. He is watching Watson's eyes in the upper corner of the screen, tracking the exact millisecond his focus shifts from the pre-snap single high safety look to the post-snap cover 2 rotation. Watson can pause the tape, point to a nickel corner's weight distribution or the subtle lean of an edge rusher's inside foot, and explain precisely why he checked out of a designed run and slid the protection to the left. For a young quarterback, hearing that thought process communicated in real time by someone who has lived it in real NFL games is like receiving a masterclass in grandmaster-level chess. This shared film study accelerates the learning curve by turning abstract coaching concepts into tangible human decisions. A coach can tell you what a defense is supposed to do on paper, but a veteran quarterback can tell you how a defense actually behaves when the heat is on. Watson can walk Shedeur through the internal dialogue of a play, explaining why he chose to throw a ball away on second down rather than forcing a tight window pass into bracket coverage, or how he used his hard cadence on third and short to force a defensive tackle to show his pass rush path early. Shedeur absorbs these micro-decisions without having to suffer the costly turnover or the devastating sack on game day. Beyond the mental processing of coverages, this daily synergy exposes Shedeur to the relentless, obsessive micro-habits that dictate a long, successful professional career. Watching a veteran operate up close teaches a rookie that being an NFL quarterback is a lifestyle of extreme discipline. Shedeur sees the specific recovery protocols Watson uses immediately after a heavy throwing session, the precise warm-up routines required to keep an arm healthy over a 17-game season, and the exact way a veteran commands the cadence to keep a defensive line off balance. Cadence work, in particular, is an understated weapon in the pros that college quarterbacks rarely have to master. The subtle variation of voice rhythm, the strategic use of dummy calls, and the ability to draw a defense off sides on crucial third downs are high-level tools. By practicing these vocal mechanics alongside Watson, Shedeur learns how to manipulate a defense with his voice long before he ever takes a snap under center in an official game. This daily environment strips away the ego and creates an atmosphere of hyper-efficient absorption. In a typical rookie setting, a quarterback is isolated with young peers, all struggling to grasp the basics while competing for reps and approval. But by bypassing that isolated bubble and stepping directly into a veteran's daily workflow, Shedeur isn't comparing himself to other rookies. He is benchmarking his standard of preparation against a proven starter. He learns how to study, how to take notes, how to compartmentalize mistakes, and how to approach the game with the calm, surgical demeanor of an established pro. By absorbing these quiet, invisible habits day after day, Shedeur compresses years of trial and error experience into a single off-season, building a professional mindset that makes the transition to the league feel like second nature. When the backup quarterback's number is called in the high-stakes pressure cooker of the NFL, the trajectory of an entire franchise hinges on one single question. Can the offense maintain its rhythm, or does the entire system crumble into a simplified, timid shell of itself? The brutal reality of modern professional football is that standard backup preparation is an inherent liability. Traditional backups spend their weeks taking second-team reps, operating off abbreviated call sheets, and attempting to simulate the starter's instincts from a distance. But when Shedeur Sanders chooses to mirror a primary starter's off-season preparation down to the exact microsecond, he is effectively immunizing himself against that dynamic. He is building plug-and-play readiness, a state of preparation where his insertion into the lineup requires zero structural compromise from the coaching staff. Think about what happens to an offensive coordinator when a typical young backup enters the game. The play sheet shrinks by 50%. Complex motion packages are scrubbed. Pre-snap protection adjustments are taken out of the quarterback's hands, and the passing tree is compressed into safe, quick game throws that defenses can read and jump with aggressive impunity. But because Shedeur has spent hundreds of hours synchronizing his verbiage, cadence, and special drops with the primary starter, an offensive coordinator doesn't have to alter a single syllable of the game plan. The verbiage remains identical, the cadence maintains its deceptive edge, and the operational timing of the pass plays stays entirely intact. The offense doesn't just survive the transition, it maintains its lethal, aggressive identity. This level of strategic alignment completely alters how an offensive coaching staff evaluates a young quarterback during practice reps and preseason action. When offensive coordinators and quarterbacks coaches grade film behind closed doors, they aren't just looking at whether a throw was completed or dropped. They're evaluating execution efficiency, how seamlessly the quarterback operated the system's overarching philosophy. They assess whether the ball came out on the correct hitch step, whether the protection call correctly identified the unblocked rusher, and whether the quarterback processed the progression within the strict operational clock of the design. A young quarterback who runs his own rogue style might make a spectacular off-script play once in a while. But to a professional coaching staff, that unpredictability can feel like a ticking time bomb. Conversely, when a backup operates the exact blueprint established by the starter, it instantly builds overwhelming trust with the coaching staff. They see a player who respects the architecture of the scheme, someone who can step into the huddle and command the respect of 10 veteran teammates because he speaks the language with absolute fluency and authority. This identical preparation creates an undeniable psychological advantage when the moment of truth arrives. Most young quarterbacks fail when thrust into action because their minds are paralyzed by the sudden jump in speed and responsibility. But when your daily routine has been a mirror image of an elite starter's workflow for months, the shock of the moment is completely removed. The stadium lights may be brighter, and the pass rush may be faster, but the tactical reality on the field is identical to the reps you've already processed 1,000 times in your head. Shedeur isn't preparing to be a promising backup waiting for a turn years down the road. He is positioning himself as an immediate, fully functional starter who happens to be standing on the sideline, ready to seize command of the offense without missing a single beat. The ultimate takeaway from this calculated off-season alignment transcends the noise of sports media chatter, social media headlines, and superficial narratives. What Shedeur Sanders is executing alongside Deshaun Watson is a masterclass in professional craft. A cold, calculated shift from relying on natural gifts to commanding high-level tactical mastery. In an era where sports culture constantly feeds on sensationalism, drama, and external perception, Shedeur is demonstrating that true power at the professional level isn't built through brand management or viral highlights. It is forged in the invisible, monotonous grind of mastering the technical intricacies of the position. Moving past the surface-level commentary allows us to appreciate what elite quarterback play actually requires in the modern game. High school and college football can often be dominated by pure physical talent, off-script athleticism, and arm talent that simply outmatches the opposition. But the NFL is the great equalizer. At the professional level, every defensive end is an elite athlete. Every cornerback can erase step-for-step separation, and every defensive coordinator spends 60 hours a week designing schemes specifically built to exploit a young quarterback's subtle bad habits. When you enter that arena, raw instinct is no longer enough. The only thing that separates long-term success from immediate failure is operational fluency and structural discipline. By intentionally subjecting himself to the micro-habits, film study protocols, and mechanical precision of a seasoned NFL starter before taking a single official pro snap, Shedeur is taking complete ownership of his developmental timeline. He is subverting the traditional narrative that young, high-profile quarterbacks must inevitably suffer through a painful, chaotic transition period while they struggle to adapt to the speed of the professional game. Instead, he is laying down a repeatable, bulletproof blueprint that turns potential liabilities into immediate strengths long before the regular season even begins. This strategic approach offers a powerful lesson for every young quarterback ascending toward the highest level of the sport. Talent gets you noticed, and personality gets you talked about. But tactical mastery is the ultimate form of narrative control in professional football. When you master the pre-snap checks, when your footwork is synchronized to the microsecond with your route concepts, and when you can operate an NFL offense with surgical efficiency, you strip away the ability of critics, media, and opposing defenses to dictate your story. You dictate the terms of your own success on the field, forcing the entire football world to evaluate you solely on your performance and preparation. As Shedeur steps forward into the next chapter of his career, this relentless commitment to tactical excellence will be the definitive edge that sets him apart. By trading superficial flash for deep mechanical and mental substance, he isn't just preparing himself to survive in the NFL. He is systematically laying the foundation to dominate it. When the lights turn on and the speed of the game reaches its absolute maximum, the spectacle fades away, leaving only the execution behind. And because the preparation was identical to that of a proven master, the transition from prospect to commander will look less like a leap into the unknown and more like the inevitable execution of a plan that was locked in long before the world was paying attention.